And with this, we now come to the final segment of today's conclave, which is the Reality Plus Real Talk, the inspiring success stories, right? We all like to listen to stories, so we present to all of you the inspiring success stories of Reality Plus Real Talk. Thank you. Everybody's giving me a pat on the back, right? Nobody's saying, ye villa hai le lo, ye ghar hai le lo, right? I hope that's bigger, this is bigger. Yeah, so let me introduce the esteemed speakers of the session. Let's give it out for Dr. Ponni and Concessao, founder and principal architect, Oscar and Ponni Architects. Ponni and Concessao is worked with internationally renowned architectural firm in New York City before joining her husband in 1996, ushering an era of diverse award-winning projects from institutions, technology parks, apartments, shopping malls to hospitality, luxury apartments, parks, institutions, hospitals, and luxury villas. Currently, she is designing the prestigious Telangana State Secretariat at Hyderabad. Can you give it out for Ponni, please? Yeah. So, welcome. I'm looking at searching for you in the audience, but yeah, you're right there. Welcome. Let's give it out for Suresh, Heblikar, Chairman and Founding Trustee, EcoWatch, Kannada filmmaker, director, and actor. Yeah, and if you're smiling in the audience, you might just be cast in one of those roles. So, EcoWatch was established in 1998 by Suresh, a noted filmmaker and environmentalist, with the objective of spreading the message of environmental conservation through relevant, focused yet diverse programs and activities. Let's put our hands together for Suresh. If he's around, yeah, here we are. Please come, sir. Yeah, can we give him a huge round of applause, please? And chairing this conversation will be Sapna Srivastava, editor Reality Plus and architect by qualification. Sapna forayed in the field of architectural journalism in the year 2006. That's quite some experience. As editor of Reality Plus, she is responsible to maintain editorial benchmarks and ideate new editorial products. Thank you, Sapna, for chairing this session, and thank you to the two stalwarts for joining this one as well. I would now request our session chair to take over the proceedings, and all of you to join in too. Thank you.
For those wonderful introductions of our speakers and myself, and it's my privilege and honor to be with such accomplished personalities in their own field. So without further ado, let me start this conversation with our speakers, taking them back in time. Let me start with you, Dr. Architect Ponni. You started in USA, you were working with one of the eminent architects there, and then you shifted base and from New York City, you came to the city of Chennai. Mostly we have seen it's vice versa. People from Chennai go to New York City to work. So what prompted that shift from there to here?
I hope you all can hear me.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm of a different bent of mind. Being an architect, I feel an architect is intrinsically a nation builder. So back in school, I had this inspiration to take up architecture, to become a nation builder. And being a nation builder, I unconsciously benchmarked my country to the best of democracies in the world. And the US happened to fit the bill. So I was just curious, let me go to the other side of the globe, find out how these democracies operate, what are the new methodologies in architecture, learn a lot from a Western civilization, and see what are the best value systems in terms of building technology, construction, and in a different scenario, how does the legal systems work there? What is the philosophy of the culture there? So I just thought of bringing back some of the good values that can be adopted in India. The reason I married Oscar, everyone thinks that I had this hot affair with Oscar. He's my college senior, by the way. I married him because he was the only man willing to come back to me, with me to India. I have a strong sense of nation building, and that's precisely the reason why I came back.
Okay, fantastic. Strong sense of nation building. Same thing, something which is there in Mr. Suresh Heblikar. You had a fantastic career from 1970s in Kannada filmmaking as an actor, as a filmmaker, as a director. And then in 1990s, they became environmentalists. What prompted that change? From the world of glamour to environment?
Hello. I happen to come from a town called Harvard, and I studied in Harvard. I did my economics, and I was under the influence of great economists called Nandita. Then we had a great number of poets and writers and singers in Harvard, like Bhimsen Joshi, Madhukar Mansur, Kandubai Ahmed, Bengre, the great poet, Girish, number of them. And it had a lot of institutions like the Karnataka College, Karnataka University, Hassan Mission High School, played a great role in the freedom fight of this country also. I had carried all these things in my mind when I came to Bangalore, I came into films not just because I wanted to become an actor or director or anything. When I was studying in Karnataka University, I happened to come across a professor who came from France. His name was Kedia. He used to teach French in Paris University, and he came to teach French long back in Harvard. He came to teach French, and as soon as he came, he set up a film workshop. At that time, we did not know what workshop meant. What was the meaning of a workshop? So I happened to see some of the films which are made in France, made in Germany, made in Japan, Czechoslovakia. They were such amazing films, the kind of films that we were seeing. Mostly, Harvard was a place where mostly Hindi films were shown. Although we had a Kannada theatre, we would rarely see Kannada theatre. But there was a world of difference in the terms of techniques of making films, telling the story, narratives, the style, and the reality situations, how they were brought on the screen, how they made an impact. So one such film was called The Wages of Fear. It was something about the Second World War, where about 4 youngsters from France, they did not want to join. It was a conscription, which meant that every person who attains the age of 18 must serve the military for 2 years. Germany had declared a war, and they did not want to join the war because they said, we have no enemies. We can't take the guns and kill people. I feel bad because one was a writer, one was a poet, one was a painter. They said, why we take guns and shoot people unnecessarily? So they collect little money, they go to one of the most backward, small Latin American countries and spend 5 years till the war is over, and they come back. That is the story. How it was told is an amazing story. Wages of Fear. So this influenced me a lot. And Professor Mahalay told me that India is such an amazing country with such amazing cultures and languages and history, such great poets, such great thinkers, that you will not get a place like this to make films anywhere. So you should make films, he told me. So this is how I started making short films and all that. Anyway, I stumbled into acting, direction later. But then the kind of lakes that I had seen, the kind of clusters of forests, clusters of trees, the grassland, the soil, the cattle, the trees. I would sometimes bunk the school and go and sleep under the tree and look at the sky, the lights. So those things did never leave me, my mind. And when I came to Bangalore was one of the most beautiful cities in Asia. I used to write frequently in Times of India, Deccan Herald, the Indian Express. Deccan Herald came later, just about 25 years ago. But before that I would write. And then there were forests, the Western Ghat forests. The Western Ghats are amazing mountains, and they are the second biodiversity hotspots in the world next to Brazil. Amazing biodiversity. Most of our medicines, most of our rainfall, most of our rivers, they all come from the Western Ghats. We have 65 rivers in the Western Ghats of South India. We have amazing Deccan Plateau, which is a grassland. we have about 43% of the carbon of the world which is contained in the grassland. But unfortunately, we think grass is a trivial thing. So we have wiped out grasslands, we have wiped out western hard forests, and these are the things which were not affecting me. And then I would not even take more interest in films, poetry, literature, art, music. I think was, because the more I thought about environment, because this is a country of now today 140 crore people. Imagine, 100 crore, 140 crore. We have, then I realized we have 70% of the whole world which is covered by oceans. 10% is covered by the ice. Only 20% of the land where 800 people of us are living. How do you manage? Where do you build your infrastructure, your big buildings, you have rivers, forests, everything only within 20%. And now we have global warming and climate change. And yesterday I think it was over in Dubai. 190 countries met there, they discussed a lot of things. And yet India said then we need to have coal because we need to have development again. We need to follow development. So this development is a thing which is bothering me. What exactly is development? Is it the big buildings, is it the big shopping malls? Is it development or is it the mind? We have lived in the small town. This country has a mindset where millions of people have lived in the small cities and small towns. Only in the last decade, we have built big cities like Pune, Hyderabad, Bangalore, Chennai, Hyderabad, and unfortunately, we have studied that they are ecologically collapsing.
So I think what is common in both our speakers here is a strong sense of social responsibility, which prompted architect Ponni to come back to India because she wanted to build India as per international standards, being a professional herself. For Mr. Heblikar, when he saw what's not happening right, the environment getting degraded around him, that prompted him to do something, take things in his own hands. But also I would like to talk about challenges here that we were talking about earlier, engineering college. There are still that mindsets of a woman being an architect and then, people not able to recognize them as their leader. Or maybe when you narrated being in an engineering college and that was not very welcome. We ourselves see that there are very less women on top management positions. So is that a challenge? How do we address it? We know there is a problem. What is the solution? One or two suggestions that you have?
Okay. I'll just narrate this very funny story. So I finished my 12th standard and I got an admit card from the National Institute of Technology in Tripti, Tiruchirappalli. I don't know how many of you know where it is, but it's down south in Tamil Nadu. Went to pay my fees. The administrative officer said, look, have you come to pay fees for your brother? And I said, no, it's for me. And I can't tell you what a fit the entire college had. The principal went off in fits and he said, listen, women should only be educated to the bare minimum and then married off. And this is something I'm saying happened 30, 35 years ago. And I was so very, very humiliated and insulted that I did mustered up the courage to tell him, listen, what you're saying is against the constitution. If you don't give me this admit card, I will take you to court. I will meet you in the Madras High Court because what you're doing is against the constitution. Now I was able to say that to him and he buckled. Because remember, NIT Trichy is a government college end of the day. So what prompted me to say it was, A, I was very determined to get myself an education. It has to come from within you. B, my father was somebody who believed in the education of women, economic independence of women. I wish every father had that mindset. 3, it's a commitment that you have to make to yourself. The other story, this is what is called social conditioning. You tell girls, listen, you're a girl, okay, do one BA, BSc, we'll get you married, you're better off as a wife and a mother. That is social conditioning. It happens to our country, in our country, day in and day out. And unfortunately, this is seeps into the mind of women themselves. The best of male chauvinists in my book, I shouldn't say that, but it's something I experienced to the shock of my life, that a lot of women are socially conditioned this way and they pass it on to the future generations. And that shouldn't happen. And lucky, 30 years ago when I came back to India, I was pleasantly surprised. And today I'm even more pleasantly surprised because girls are now determining who they're going to get married to, what field they're going to get into, the kind of life they want to lead. So what the point is, my generation, women had it a little more difficult. But as time is going on, I'm finding politicians are now encouraging women's rights. When I did the Telangana State Secretariat with my husband Oscar for the Chief Minister, the former Chief Minister of Telangana, the one politician who said that I'm going to give equal number of toilets for both men and women to reflect the demographics of India. He even constructed a creche for working mothers. So politicians have also decided that women are a dominating, at least a vote bank, if not anything else. But the fact that, unless you have women and men working shoulder to shoulder, this country cannot progress. This is something I learned in the US. If you go to the US, I don't know how many of you have been educated in the US and have worked there. You cannot tell an American woman, go there, sit there, this is your job. You get sued. Why? Because European women have made the effort of demanding for their rights, standing up for what is good for them. Unless we women in India stand up and demand those rights, we're going to be shunted to one corner. Like I said, that is changing. Today, I'm on the panel of academic panel for thesis, reviews, external panel. I find that in an architectural design class, 70% are women, 30% are men. But the sad thing is, you're not going to find a lot of these women coming back to practice. Why? Because then you give birth and they tell you, listen, you're the mom, stay back. So the point I'm trying to give in to the young girls of our generation is that you have to be economically independent. If a country like the United States, you want to come up to that level of progress, men and women have to join the labor force. I didn't say it. Christine Lagarde, the former finance minister of France, after a lot of studies of economics of different countries, she has come to that conclusion that unless men and women work shoulder to shoulder in the labor force, the country cannot progress. Our own Prime Minister has put in programs to get women to come out, get educated. But the point is, finally, it's up to women.
That's right. I think three things. One, social conditioning, that has to change. Second is determination from women themselves, that they want to be taken seriously. And I think, as you mentioned, that the laws are there, even the government is now favoring that there. So I think these all things hopefully should make a change. They are already making a change, and we are going to, I'm sure, see a lot of positives. Again, similar question to you, Mr. Heblikar. When you became an environmentalist, you started your own eco-wash NGO. What were the challenges that did you face? Because at that time, people still, I don't know how much aware they were about environment protection. So what were the challenges you faced?
We had major, campaigns in the Western Ghats when the government wanted to put up a nuclear power plant in Karwar. So I studied that a nuclear power plant in the forest was never set up anywhere in the world. So we carried it to the politicians, and then we convinced Ramakrishna Hegde, who was the chief minister at that time. He believed us. I mean, he was convinced, and he wrote a letter, I think, to the Prime Minister saying that the environmentalists have convinced me that this should not be taking place here. Because nearly 30 years ago, when a nuclear power plant in Chernobyl there was a big accident, and even today people are suffering due to cancer and other things. And that was a time when we could gather thousands of people within a day. In a small town like Karwar, 10,000 people came just in one day. So we convinced the people, we convinced the farmers, we convinced Harika nut growers, we convinced the women there, the students, they all followed us. So there was a big campaign, and then we tried to have another campaign with Shivram Karan, who came and sorry. And then to save the Western Ghats, because Western Ghats, as I said, was it is a mountain biodiversity hotspots.
Were you taken seriously? Like
No, what I'm saying is, you asked us about the awareness. That we found that awareness was at a very low level.
Yeah.
Even today, awareness is at a very low level in our society. But you see in the papers that the lakes are being encroached and somebody is planting a tree,
What
Just
are your
by planting a
suggestions?
tree, you
How
can.
do we increase this awareness?
That is
Your
what
two suggestions.
we have to introduce the subject of environment in the schools. The children should learn during the formative period between 8 to 14. Then they will carry that message, whatever they become later. Now, unfortunately, I have seen a lot of engineers, they're speaking, they were saying, one engineer was saying, a senior engineer, there we saw a lot of river water is going into the sea, and it is, it's a waste. I said, the sea is a waste? I mean, sea is not a gutter. Sea is not a, sea is a life, ocean. About 80% of this, 70% of the world, which gives food to 60% of the world's population, and it gives the seasons, the rains, everything comes because of that. So we have to create awareness about environment. For instance, especially when you are holding this real estate now, this focus, because in India we are building major cities, like as I said. Bangalore was a beautiful city about 15 years ago. We had all the lakes, we had the grassland, we had clusters of trees, we had a lot of grass, we could see a lot of butterflies, we could see. Because these are things, people will say, what is a butterfly doing? This is a biodiversity. And if biodiversity goes, humanity will survive only for 50 years, according to the great experts.
So as an environmentalist, I think you feel aware
No,
of
another
this
thing I
subject.
just want to tell you that big cities, big apartments, big shopping malls, big infrastructure, it is to be considered with a pinch of salt. You have to do it only when it's extremely necessary. A British geologist once told me, you have to take the groundwater like a fixed deposit. Unless there's an emergency, you should not use. But today, in Bangalore, there is no water. Our groundwater level is completely depleted. We have the river water from Kaveri, which is the only source of drinking water, water for irrigation, water for industries, the only one source. And lot of our forests in the western Ghats of Kodagu has been destroyed because we are carrying transmission lines, we are carrying roads, we are putting up homes, we are putting up cottages, we are putting up so many things. We have to be very, very careful about it. Secondly, the small cities get influenced by big cities. Because I see whenever I go to other cities, they say to live like Bangalore. We have to have a style like Bangalore, hotel like Bangalore, houses like Bangalore, car like Bangalore, food like Bangalore. So this is how the big cities, in Bangalore we have wiped out more than 250 lakes. There were so many lakes, people were drinking water from it. Alsur Lake till 1980, people in the neighboring areas were drinking that water. So these are, and TG Hadley water. About 25% of the Bangalore's population was given water from TG Hadley Lake. Today there is not a drop of water which you can drink from that lake. Because we are all fascinated by big things like infrastructure, cars, mobile phones, and towers, shopping malls. These are things because we have to understand India 140 crore people. Billions of them are still poor. 50 crore people still living below poverty line. And there are many of them are educated. They will not suffer. They will not tolerate. If only certain people live well and become rich and prosper, they will stand. Because this is a note which I have studied economics. I'm a member of the ISAC also, the club member of the ISAC. So I keep studying the socio-economic impact of the development of India. So we have to be careful. We have to create beautiful cities. I'm not saying don't create infrastructure.
Let me get architect Ponni's thought on this. As an environmentalist, Mr. Heblikar says the biggest problem is the awareness. And the biggest solution to that problem is to catch them young. Right from the schools, let's get them aware about what environment is, how we can, and what should be done.
We have beautiful grassland in Bangalore.
Yeah.
5,000 acres of grassland,
That's
which
completely-
absorbs water so that little Ratta Lake is surviving today.
Yes.
But a local MLA says, sir, it is only grass, it is not of use. He said,
Yeah. and-
it is containing carbon. It has a lot of beautiful animals, micro
I think
life.
a lot of our policy makers also need education in this. Ponni, let me come back to you. Now, what Mr. Heblikar said, we need development, of course. We are a developing country. We need infrastructure. We need housing. We are still short of millions of houses for our citizens. We need buildings. We need industries. We are a developing country. How do we balance, as Mr. Heblikar said, a lot of grasslands, isko hata do, wo bana do. How do we balance development, which is necessary, with protecting environment, which is again necessary?
Okay, this is a very, very good question. I'm going to go back to my American experience. Now, in European countries, there are laws. You do not build in these areas because those are natural grasslands, natural forest reserves. You do not touch it because they do a study of groundwater, they do studies of water resources and how the biodiversity actually helps in protecting these natural resources, which is so important to a city or a metropolis to survive. For example, the water in New York City actually comes from the Catskill Mountains. And the Catskill Mountain area is so beautifully protected. There are strict laws. Of course, like in India, you do have greedy developers and they have an electorate. That's the difference between India and the US. Our electorate should have the mindset to fight corrupt lawmakers. The problem is, our laws are fantastic, but the application of that law is so very polluted. Why? Because there's a politician who got into a certain seat of power, now he needs to harvest money. What does he do? Build. Just build. Because then you can create real estate assets which, one can glean money out of, can be commercially viable. Why does he need this money? Because he's got to feed the electorate come the next elections. So it's a vicious circle. And what happens is, as professionals, also will agree with me. We're all stuck in the middle because it's our taxpayers' money that goes to take care of the electorate, from elections. So there are two ways of doing this. I completely agree with you, sir. You need to bring in environmentally sensitive lessons. In the US, there is a subject called environmental sciences, and it's taught at the UKG, pre-KG, first grade level itself. So there's a small child telling me, because I do have friends, educating us on why we need to preserve mountains. So that should come up in the primary school level itself. Second, there's something called civic society. Unless civic society makes a lot of noise, it percolates to the electorate and then percolates to lawmakers. Third, we need to have intelligent, good lawmakers who have the good intention of creating a good society, protecting natural resources. So the lawmakers is where the problem comes in. You need to bring in people who are A, educated, B, who are globally aware of all these issues. And of course, right now we do have a fantastic central government which has brought in a lot of policies which are very good. But percolation of that policy at the grassroots levels is simply not there. So I have a suggestion, and this is something I've been talking to politicians about. We need to build net zero countries. The Dubai consensus, which that got over like a couple of days ago, there were 2 or 3 takeaways from that, and one is by 2050, all countries should have net zero strategies and have a zero carbon footprint. The other thing is that we need to triple our renewable energies from fossil fuels to renewable energy sources. I mean, there are so many other things like this. Basic parameters were these two. So until and unless we bring in these lawmakers who who are sensitive about these issues, the country really cannot go forward. And mind you, India lives in its villages. Trust me, I do work not only in urban areas, but I also do a lot of campuses which are coming up in different villages. And that movement has to start from the village itself. How they do it, I don't know. I have an idea. Either you get our women, more and more women to be educated, more and more women as lawmakers. Maybe it will change. This is a suggestion. The other suggestion is that government actually give tax credits to contractors, to industrialists who actually use sustainable technologies in their trades or industry wherever they are linked in. So if you tell people there is a commercial viability in you following a green practice or a sustainable practice, then people will start responding to it very, very easily. And this is happening in all of the European countries. There are tax credits. I wish there were politicians here to listen to this.
But yeah, uphill task, two solutions that you mentioned, both very difficult. One is the policy makers, educating the policy makers, getting the right people on top. Implementation, we have the laws, but getting them implemented in the true sense of what they stand for is one big problem. And second, you mentioned about the civil society, taking up the causes. Mr. Heblikar has taken that cause as a private citizen. He saw what was happening and he took it in his hand, started a movement, started an NGO around it. I think, but what you mentioned was involving women in our villages, because they are the ones who are the worst sufferers. They are the ones who travel kilometers of land to get water for their families. If we involve them, I think probably we can make a difference. A lot of good, talk about that. Now, both of you have accomplished a lot in your professional capacities. One accomplishment or one achievement that you are really proud of, Mr. Heblikar, out of all the accomplishments. One achievement, very difficult question, but one achievement that you would like to tell us about.
I can't think of an achievement as such, but there is a general awareness about environment which is growing, which I have seen now. Many people are, so recently we held for about 1,000 students from about 40, 50 schools. A lot of students were aware about what was happening to the environment, which is a good beginning. And even among the government, bureaucracy and all that, people have started getting, educated about preserving the forest. There is a man-animal conflict which is taking place because we have encroached the forest, habitats are lost, animals are coming in search of food to the cities. So these things are known to the people now. So this has to become now, as you say very rightly, that we have a lot of laws, but we are backward in implementation. If we implement the laws and if we take stringent actions against the encroachers or against people who falter on this, and then people will realize that, okay, we should not make mistakes. Thirdly, we are a tropical country, subtropical country, with great Himalayas, with great mountains of Western Ghats. We have a lot of grasslands. These are enough to mitigate the global warming which is taking place. A lot of people talk about unnecessary big technologies. There are no big technologies to bring down the global warming, because it has taken 200 years since the Industrial Revolution began in the Western countries. The Western countries who got economically advanced, they were responsible for global warming, whether they were aware or not. But today we have reached a stage where it is very difficult, because one of the biggest icebergs of the world has melted in Antarctica. And it is rushing into the Atlantic Ocean. The European countries are scared that whether they will be able to grow their wheat or not. Another thing, like Egypt and south of France, Italy, many of these Mediterranean countries who like to eat pasta. Right? I'll just give you one example. Italians told the McDonald's, America, they wanted to set up the hotels there. They said, our dogs also will not eat your food. McDonald's, leave it to us. We want our wine, we want our music, we want our pasta. So pasta they are not getting because they are crying because the temperatures have gone up. So they are not getting the yield properly. So we are also recently You see, this is an integrated. Environment is not just what is happening here will just end here. No, it will make an impact on the surrounding regions. That is why we have to carry this message to the whole world. This is very important. Youngsters, especially in the Western countries, like 15, 16, 17, 18, they are getting aggressive about putting up their values of environment to the society, to the politicians, which we should do. And another most important thing is, see, Bangalore, Mysore, people who live in Bangalore know it, they go to Mysore in 2 hours. Earlier it used to take 4 hours. But there are hundreds of hotels where you eat this Madur Vada, where you eat dosa, where you eat idli, you look at the cattle, look at the beautiful green fields, look at the villagers. So most of the people have no business today because 6-lane roads have been built. You are going instead of 4 hours, you are going in 2 hours, but killing this business. And then by widening the roads, putting more cars, you not only require more petrol and diesel, you also require rubber to run, your tire and tubes. So we are spoiling the Western cars by growing rubber plantations in the Western cars. And then we are destroying a lot of communities who are harvesting these products, like tamarind, like gooseberry and all that. We have wiped out these trees. So those people are coming into the big cities. So these are happening all around the world.
The biggest achievement for Mr. Heblikar.
No, that's what I'm saying. You develop small city.
Yeah.
Let the real estate people also take interest in the smaller city. Build beautiful things like shopping, whatever it is. But keeping the grassland, keeping the soil, keeping the shrub, nothing is waste. God has given us, nature has given us wonderful everything. If we maintain that, you don't require more money, more technology to mitigate the global warming.
I think that's your achievement in terms of creating awareness. I think the kind of awareness that you are creating in your capacity, we need more people like you. Architect Ponni, again, out of all your accomplishments that you have achieved in these years, one that stands out for you.
The one, actually I have 3, but then I'll talk about the one that's closest to my heart. I'm the first woman in Asia to ever design a state secretariat, and that was the Telangana State Secretariat in Hyderabad. We used all of the sustainability principles, finished 10 to 12 lakh square feet complex in just 2 years. I worked with a very intelligent state government, and as usual, as the only woman there, of course, I worked along with my husband, Oscar. So that is something that I'm very, very proud of. Second, I'm also doing the Gaganyaan Space Center in ISRO's Sriharikota, the Prime Minister's office. So that's something I'm very, very proud of. And the third and last one is that I have been a pioneer for women's technical education in India. I opened the floodgates for...
I think we should give a big applause for these achievements.
To open the floodgates for women to be engineers in premier engineering institutes like the NITs. So I feel very good about it, that I've contributed to education.
We feel good about that too. So we are in the last month of the year. So before I close this panel, what's your wish list for New Year? Mr. Heblikar, what's your wish list for New Year in one sentence or in one word?
To have good friends, I think a good society, because we should not lose hope. Because on hope the world survives.
Hope, yeah.
Yeah. The people of the world are trying to do something in COP that is trying to reduce the global warming and climate change, because that affects the whole life. It affects agriculture, it affects production, it affects building.
Correct. So Mr. Heblikar's one wish for next year is to continue to believe in the good of human beings. Continue to be positive and be hopeful that we are
working actually at the moment. We are working in the peri-urban areas. We are developing lakes. We are planting trees. We have taken government schools and cleaning them up. So this is what the people also should do it, because ecologically big cities are collapsing. We are drinking contaminated water. We are eating contaminated vegetables. Let me be very frank about it. It's because we don't know big cities. We don't know what's happening where. Children do not know where they are getting their drinking water from, how the vegetables are grown. In the smaller cities, we have good human relationship, good law. We do take care of the lakes, take care of soil. So this is how the country will be.
That's the wish list of Mr. Heblikar, that let's take care of our country, let's take care of our environment. Ponni, your wish for New Year?
My God, I have a huge list, but the top of my list is that I wish I get the opportunity to design a net zero satellite city for any of the great metros in our great country. Number one. Number two, I wish the women of India, much better prospects. We should outdo men in our achievements. Number three is I would like India to work very hard to be a net zero country in 2030 itself. Why wait for 2050?
That's correct. Thank you so much. I think that on that wish list, and we hope all these wishes come true for both our speakers. Thank you so much. Wish you all the very best, and thank you to our audience for listening to us so patiently. Thanks, Mr. Heblikar, for being here with us. We need more people like you. Thanks, Architect Ponni. We need more women like you to inspire other women to achieve what you have
For
achieved.
opening the floodgates for all the women and inspiring them. And I love those examples from Mr. Heblikar on the Bangalore-Mysore highway and the way New York protects the environment, but we don't do that. So more for India and more power to each one of you. I would request Sapna Srivastava to kindly present a token of gratitude to our eminent speakers and for all of you to join in, to put in a big round of applause and thank them in a very own unique way. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am, for those masterpieces that you've been crafting, curating and creating for the world. Thank you so much. And